Today, guys, we're going to talk about the 12 benefits of semen retention. Now, this is going to be a two-part series where I'm going to go over simple benefits that are going to literally change your life. Every single one of them are going to change your life. Now, of course, I'll just preface this by saying that it's not because you retain that suddenly your whole life will change. It obviously has to be accompanied by actions, by work. But to give you an analogy, imagine that success in life across different areas of life would be a specific destination that you have to go to with your car. Well, if you use a car that is slow, that is old and not in the best conditions, then it's probably going to take more time. I mean, there's going to be times where the car is going to break down. You'll have to take it to the mechanic, right? But if you use a car that is brand new and it's the best model, it's like a Lamborghini, let's say, then getting to that destination will take maybe a tenth of the time. And this is what semen retention will bring to your life. It's benefits that will help you with whatever you're pursuing, whether that be marriage, building a family, building a business, a career, fitness, and I'll explain why. And I'm not gonna say, oh, it's just because you have more zinc or because of prolactin, and explaining it using biology. Instead, I'm going to explain it using logic, using simple facts. So first thing, the reward system resets. When you remove something like casual sex, like porn, like masturbation, you do not just remove something that takes away your time or mental energy because of the act itself. Like if you watch porn for 15 minutes, it's not just the 15 minutes that are wasted. It's usually much more than that because you start spending time thinking about it, it starts becoming more important to you, and therefore, the only reward you kind of like think of, the only thing that is pleasurable to you, the only thing you anticipate, and by the way, dopamine is the anticipation to get a specific reward. It is not the reward itself, it's not the pleasure of porn, it is the wanting of porn. It's not the liking, it's the wanting. But when you remove that reward, you'll be forced to find a better reward. What does that mean? You'll be forced to experience life differently. So if someone plays video games 10 hours a day, and that's all he does, if you were to take his console, his Xbox, his PS5, his PlayStation, and he couldn't play video games, even if he wanted to, whatever he was gaining from video games, he will try to find a way to get it in real life. And that's the same exact thing that's happening when we remove such habits. So for example, the guy playing video games, if what he felt like he was getting from video games is a sense of dominance because he was so good at that game that other people would praise him for that and he would dominate everyone, and he felt like he couldn't get that in real life, well, now he's in a situation where he has no outlets. So he's going to be forced to try different things. Maybe he's going to think, well, martial arts is a way to gain some form of dominance. Let me try that. So he experiences life differently and he experiences new rewarding experiences. This is key. One of my videos, I talk with Stanton Peele, who's a renowned psychologist that talks about addiction, specifically with drugs and alcohol. You can watch the interview on my YouTube channel. And one of the things that he mentioned is for people to move on from these addictions, from drugs, from alcohol, one of the things that they sometimes miss is just crucial but so simple to implement and understand is simply experiencing rewarding experiences. So if someone quits porn, casual sex, masturbation, and using the video games example, let's say that out of these habits, what he felt like he was gaining was a form of masculinity, of maybe validation. Regardless if that's true or not, if he feels like that was an outlet for these things, well, guess what? He's going to try to find a way to get those things. Maybe he's going to turn inwardly and say, oh, you know what? If I follow this, I'm going to validate myself. I don't need external validation anymore. You see, he finds solutions. Or maybe he's going to be like, well, masculinity, what could actually make me more masculine? Be more of a man of faith? Maybe going higher in my career, whatever. So this is crucial that people experience this because oftentimes, especially people that I see that struggle with porn and masturbation specifically, they are often isolated because they feel like they're living a double life. They're talking to people, but these people do not know that they watch porn and masturbation. And if they were to find out, then they would feel a lot of shame and guilt. And so what happens is they don't even experience things outside of their home. Like they just are on their computer or are on their phone. Most of the time, they do not have these social interactions. They do not have opportunities that they jump into. They just do the same routine over and over again that's comfortable to them. So benefit number 2, boredom is your superpower. This changed my life. To give you context, I found out about nofap/semen retention back in 2020, so 6 years ago. It was the pandemic, and that's when you get so bored that you actually try to find new things to do, let's say. And I came across a video about nofap and semen retention. Now, of course, at first, I tried it out because at that time, I'll be a bit vulnerable. I was someone that would be too much of a people pleaser. So people would take advantage of me. They would laugh at me. They would sometimes even physically, they would punch me. I was sick and tired of that, but I wasn't expressing that. And of course, when you watch porn and then you play video games and you do all of these bad habits and you binge on junk food, you're out of shape. And that time, it was 6 years ago, one of the things that I wanted to get the most was females' validation. I genuinely believe I was just completely ugly, that no woman would ever want to be with me because I never had external proof like a woman showing signs of interest in me. And because of that, I really wanted that, but I believed that it was nearly impossible, that I was essentially doomed. So I felt hopeless, but then when I found out about nofap and semen retention out of boredom, well, I tried it out. First 1 or 2 years I struggled and I would go on streets. I would go up to 90 days, 120 days. And then I will fall back. But what I can tell you is these moments where I would just go without porn and masturbation and I would kind of start forgetting about it. Well, when you're there after work and you have nothing to do, and usually you would watch porn or masturbate because you wanted to get rid of that boredom, you didn't want to sit there with your thoughts. Well, now you don't have that escape. If there's problems in your life, you don't have a coping mechanism that's going to make you forget about the problem, and because of that you are not going to solve the problem. Well, now you are forced to create or to solve problems. You are forced. On the surface that might not mean much, but in reality it means everything. I'll give you a personal anecdote. I remember I used to work a job. To give you context, I did not like that job, nor was I having any form of success in that job. One day I was bored. I was there with my thoughts, nothing to do. And for 1 hour, I didn't escape. I felt kind of uncomfortable with the fact that I wasn't having that success in my life, even though I thought that at this point, with all of the work that I did on myself, that I should be successful financially, physically, mentally, in all of these areas of life. But it seemed like I was putting in the work, but I was seeing barely any results. And that kind of scared me. And I was there just thinking, instead of escaping that. And then I started being creative. And it goes to the other point. You will find the best or new ideas that could completely change your life. And this was about 4 years ago, where I thought, now that I have knowledge about quitting porn, masturbation, and I'm basically free, why don't I coach people? That one decision completely changed my life. Today, I have my own book, coached hundreds of men. I just came back from a trip to London where I met 3 different students of mine. I've traveled 15 countries just last year alone. I'm coaching more and more people, doing what I love, doing what's impactful, doing what's meaningful. And if I wasn't bored, none of that maybe would have ever happened. Third benefit, risk taking. When you tell yourself, you know what, I'm not going to release, except, and then you give yourself a condition that's maybe a bit hard to achieve, but that will push you to work harder. Well, you'll be forced to work harder. You'll be forced to make it happen. What do I mean? When you say, for example, let's keep it simple, no porn, no masturbation. The only way that I'll release is when I'll get married. Let's say you're a man of faith. You know that to be married, well, you need to work on different things that will be maybe hard for you right now, or that will require you to really get outside of your comfort zone. Therefore, you're going to have to find a way or make one. And that's where real growth happens. That's where you start taking risks, because not only are you bored and you start thinking about new ideas, and these ideas might require you to take some of these risks, but also you have no plan B. If you want to really satisfy that innate desire for intimacy with a real woman and you don't have a plan B, the only way is to get married. The only way is to basically have these social skills, achievements, knowledge, leadership. Trust me, the moment that desire is there to want real intimacy and you have no outlet in front of you, you're going to take actions and you're going to find solutions and you're going to be willing, this is the thing, be willing to take risk that could change your life entirely because you want to get there. You don't want to wait a few months, you don't want to wait a year or two. Yeah, you know that maybe that's going to take that amount of time, but now you start thinking, how can I get there faster? How can I be more efficient? How can I use my time more wisely? Well, risk usually are one of these things that are highly rewarding. You might think, okay, well, in my business, if I take this risk, I'll be super successful. Oh, this woman that I want to get married to, I know she might not approve of me because I'm not in the best situation right now, but I might as well try. And the risk is I'll get rejected, but I'm willing to face that. This is huge because it's not just like it happens once, you just take one risk. You might take a lot of different risks. And obviously, the comfort zone shrinks because again, you don't have that escape. You don't have like that coping mechanism. Yeah, sure, you can scroll on reels and do all of these things, but if you're doing that, then you're doing the wrong thing. To be honest with you, you'll not get the full benefits. But another thing we need to understand is that when the comfort zone shrinks, we just adapt. For example, I've run a marathon before. And before running the marathon, me and my friend, we would do half a marathon. But before we started doing half marathons, we would do 5 kilometers. That's like, what, 3.6 miles for you Americans? But at first, 5 kilometers was hard. And then we pushed it to 7 kilometers. And then it was hard. And then we did 10, and then it was hard. Then we started doing 15, it was hard. Then we did 20, then it was hard. Then we started doing like 20 to 26. The moment we got to the marathon, I still remember because we practiced the half marathon, the 21 kilometer, so much that it was easy. We went at a fast pace. Now, of course, the rest of the marathon was a completely different story. I got to 30 kilometers and I started walking and I was shaking, but I did manage to complete it. Now, the point I'm trying to make is the 21 kilometer, which was extremely hard at first and extremely uncomfortable, now was literally easy. It was nothing compared to when we first did it, because you will adapt to whatever situation you're in. You'll adapt or die, and you're probably not going to die. You might feel overwhelmed, but even when you feel overwhelmed, if you do not escape that, then you get used to that problem or challenge that's causing this sense of being overwhelmed, and therefore you're not going to feel like that anymore because you're now adapted. Huge benefit, man. Huge one. Now you'll be able to handle pressure, you'll be able to handle stress, so many different things. Fourth benefit, real hunger. This is my personal favorite. Let me move the camera. I remember when I first did 7 days in 2020. My first 7 days without porn masturbation was the first time of my entire life. Probably. Now, a lot of people say at day 7 there's this boost of testosterone. That might be true, that might be not true. There's a famous study on that, but then there's also other studies which claim that it's not true. Anyways, that's not the topic of this video. But what happens and why do you have that real hunger and drive is because now you're there with your why. Again, you remove a coping mechanism, you remove an escape, you remove something that takes all of your mental energy, all of your mental space, your time. The time that you could be there with your thoughts, thinking about what's important to you, because you spend more time with yourself, you get to know yourself more, and you get to know why you do things, why you want to achieve things, why you want to work hard. And when you know why, you just want to do things. Feeling the why, it's like, imagine that you struggle waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning. And the truth is, you just don't really have a strong reason why you want to wake up at 5 a.m. I mean, you just don't have any reasons. You don't see the benefits. You don't see the value in doing so. But imagine I told you every day that you wake up at 5 a.m., you'll get $1,000. Now you tell me, will you be driven to wake up at 5 a.m.? Probably. And also, the fog lifts, again, the mental energy, the mental space that is wasted on the porn, the masturbation, the fantasizing, the thinking about sex, intimacy so much throughout the day is gone. Therefore, it's more clear why you're doing things. You have more of that time to just be there with your thoughts, thinking about, I want to achieve this because I want to do it for this specific reason. And it's like you constantly feel motivated. Of course, people say that motivation is short term and doesn't last, but purpose, hunger, drive, it's completely different. It's something that's more constant. It's like you have a baseline of constantly feeling somewhat hungry and driven. Of course, it's not rainbows and flowers. Some days you might feel down, and that's completely normal. That's life. But imagine your baseline is just much higher. Fifth, deep focus. We all know the study on multitasking, that people that multitask end up achieving less than those that only focus on one thing at a time. Very logical. Now imagine that you're working on your laptop, you're working on your business, your career, or you're reading a book, but your thoughts are always going to, oh, intimacy, oh, you want to have sex with this woman, and oh, this porn video I just watched, oh, the shame that you feel, the guilt. You start thinking about, oh, I regret doing this. You're basically always switching tasks. You're going from thinking about the task that's in front of you to whatever you're thinking about, shame, guilt, intimacy, whatever. And if you read the book Deep Work by Cal Newport, amazing book, one of the things that he claims, and a lot of successful people I see claim, in 4 hours of work, you can get a full day or even a full week of work done. Yes, the work that people take a week to make, you can get it done in 4 hours if you're not distracted and you're entirely focused. Because the reality is, people are so distracted. They could finish reading a book in 2 to 3 hours, but instead it takes them a week or 2 weeks. And then also, on top of that, they delay things. They're like, I'll do it at the end of the day. Oh no, actually, I'll do it tomorrow. But also, you have more mental energy. Imagine you just did a 12-hour shift. You don't have much mental energy or maybe even physical energy if your work is more physical. It's going to be a bit harder for you to maybe do other things such as going to the gym or reading or working on something. But imagine that you just started your day and you have that mental energy, that mental space in the beginning of the day. Your mind is clear, you focus properly, but then as time goes on, the more you work or the more you distract yourself, well, the less mental energy, the less mental space you have. Well, think about quitting porn, quitting masturbation, quitting these distractions as that baseline for mental energy, then for mental space is again much higher, because you haven't wasted, let's say, 30 to 40% of your mental energy, mental space to a woman. And I'm being generous here. Maybe sometimes people waste much more. And imagine just 30 to 40% more mental energy, what it could help you achieve. Lastly, natural energy. Removing shame, guilt. It's one of these things that is priceless. Now, of course, there's ways to remove shame and guilt, and even if you're still struggling with these things, but that's not the topic of this video. But when you remove shame and guilt, and you now act in a state where you feel better about your stuff, you feel more confident, you feel more worthy, what happens is you take different decisions. You interact with people differently. You carry yourself differently. And these things I just mentioned will have a ripple effect on your life. Imagine you feel so much shame and guilt, and there's this job opportunity that's there for the week, but you feel so much shame and guilt that you don't even feel worthy of tackling this. You think, well, I'm not even a man of my word. I just relapsed again. I don't think I'll be able to take on this opportunity. And then it just flies by. You see, you take different decisions and your life could have completely changed, but you decided to take a decision based on that state of shame and guilt. And the more you use that physical, mental energy, the more you get. Because the more you train yourself to focus, to work, to do all of these things. Of course, you need to rest, but the more you train yourself to be good at these things, the easier it's going to be for you, the more comfortable you're going to be working hard, focusing. Therefore, you're going to have more energy next time you do a task compared to the first time. So these are the 6 benefits. In the next video, we're going to go over 6 other benefits that are going to be tied to who you're going to become on this journey of semen retention. Click here to watch the video.